Abi görüşürüz seninle, tamam mı? E, Sevgili Feza, açtım şu anda. Zeynep'i
Günaydınlar,
göremiyorum.
günaydınlar Necdet Hocam. Zeynep burada
Zeynep,
hocam, ben görüyorum Zeynep'i.
evet, tamam,
Sunumunu da yansıttı ekrana Zeynep.
tamam,
Şu anda
tamam,
gözüküyor.
tamam. Welcome to our conference. I want to open this session morning. Our first speaker is Miss Zeynep Bal. Uh, Zeynep, Zeynep,
Zeynep, you need to turn on your voice.
ha. Açarsa.
Ee,
Tamam,
Yes, it's okay.
ha,
I think it's okay, right? I forgot.
tamam. Ha. Zeynep, how are you?
Thank you. Fine. You, it's been a long time since Professor.
Yeah, thanks. Very, very thanks. Please begin your
Of
speech.
course.
Yeah.
All right. As Necdet Professor said, like I'm Zeynep Bal from Osaka University, and today I will talk about the use of hydrogels in femoral head necrosis research. So the index of my talk is like this. It will start I have to mention all of this briefly actually. So let's start with bone and bone grafting. So bone is the largest tissue in body and it is responsible for detoxification, maintaining body shape, working as an endocrine organ. It protects our organs, it provides minerals, etc. So every year, only in United States, 6.3 million people are suffer from bone fractures, and 1/4 of these cases require bone grafting, which makes bone grafting the second largest transplant tissue in the world, and the first is blood transfusion. So in order to design a graft, I think we have to know about the building blocks of the bone. So we have four main types of cells, like 3 of them are coming from the osteoprogenitor cell origin, and 1 of them is coming from the hematopoietic cell origin. So bone lining cells, as for example, bone lining cells are quiescent flattened osteoblasts, and osteocytes they are the most abundant cells in bone. They produce their own matrix, embed in it, which we call as lacuna, and they have these, I'm sorry, can you see? Okay, these canacules, which I call them as tentacles, because they look like tentacles to me, but they're not. So they connect to each other and they talk with each other through these canacules, and they connect to bone matrix and osteoblasts and osteoclasts with these.
Zeynep, sorry to interrupt, but you need to share your screen again, I guess, because we just see you and your lovely cat, but presentation is gone. So try to share your
Once more,
presentation again.
can
Uh,
I?
there's a button
Okay.
on
Change.
the
It says screen shared, but
open and close
can
it
I
one
do
more
this?
time.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, just
Ah, yes.
get
Can
stop
you
and
see now?
share again.
No. Okay.
Necdet
And
Hocam ekran gözükmüyor, o sunumu, o kayboldu. Sizin teknik çocuklar oradan bir bakabilir
Biz
mi?
görüyoruz Feza. Biz
Ben çok
görüyoruz.
görmüyorum ama Zeynep'in bakayım. Ha, tamam, şimdi geldi. Okay.
geldi mi
Okay.
hocam?
No problem. Yeah, now it's
Hocam
okay.
nereden from where, hangi slayttan itibaren görmediniz
You're in
hocam?
the index.
Okay.
Now it's
Now,
bone grafting.
okay, which one you couldn't see? This is
Yeah, keep going. If you're in the
yeah.
introduction, yeah, this is
Yes.
okay. This part is very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so these osteocytes are already known as mechanotransducers, because they are so wide on the bone, in the bone, and they can sense the mechano changes happening on the bone. And now we have osteoblasts. They are actually the chief of the bone cuisine for me, and they're known as bone forming cells, but I call them as bone makers because they cook the bone. And then we have the hematopoietic cell origin osteoclasts here. And up to me, they really look like this. And they are bone resorptive cells. I mean, they are bone eaters. So this means that, for example, these bone makers, like osteoblasts, are good cells, but the osteoclasts, that because they are eating bone, are bad guys. Well, no, because there must be a balance. For example, if you are a healthy individual and if your bones are healthy, we expect osteoclasts and osteoblasts working in coherence. If you're not growing up, we don't expect osteoblast number high in, like very high compared to osteoclasts in your bones. Or if you're not aging, or if you're not experiencing some diseases like osteoporosis, we don't expect you to have high numbers of osteoclasts rather than osteoblasts. What if you have high numbers of osteoclasts rather than osteoblasts? This will go that like you will have less bone. For example, if you have a fracture, this means that you will end up with non-union and fibrotic tissue, or you may, as it may happen in osteoporosis, you may suddenly experience unicortical or bicortical defects. Okay, this is bad. So then what if I have loss of osteoblasts? This means that like more bone. Yeah, no, it is not. Like this means that you may experience heterotrophic ossification, which is like abruptly produced bone in, like, for example, irrelevant places in your body like muscle. So if you're designing a like graft, you should focus on this balance, because like osteoclast and osteoblast balance is important for bone homeostasis. So what kind of grafts that you may have? You may have four. I mean, for example, let's start with autografts because they are golden standards. I think everybody knows this, but like it is me from me. So if I have, I don't want, but like, what if I have a like spinal surgery, or if the surgeons decide to fix my spine, they may use some bones from my iliac crest. It is good because like this means that like there's no immune rejection. It is my own tissue. Good. It is osteoinductive and osteoconductive. Amazing. It is biodegradable. But this means that I have to go for 2 operations, which increases the blood loss, which increases the burden on my body because I will get more anesthetics, and it will increase the complications, and the amount of the tissue that can take from my iliac crest maybe not enough. So the surgeons go for allografts. It means that from you to me, we are in same species, but we are different individuals, which means that like your tissue may not be suitable for me. So there will be an immune rejection and disease transmission risk. So the xenografts are also used, but it is the grafting between species, like porcine grafts. So, I mean, it will increase the rejection risk more, and there are like some ethical and societal concerns. The main problem about these are allografts and xenografts, about these are like the banking. Banking is like really expensive and not like very wide. So in the end, the scientists, surgeons, doctors, engineers like end up with composites because they are adjustable. Like you can adjust the porosity, degradation rate, osteoinductivity, conductivity, many things, and there's no restriction in the graft material. You can have as much as you want. So throughout, the hydrogels are from the like composite grafts, and these guys are really actually famous and popular in soft tissue regeneration because their mechanical strength is so similar to soft tissues, most of the soft tissues, and they are recently started to be used in osteonecrosis of the femoral head studies. But why these guys are so popular or like are in interest? Because they are mimicking the extracellular matrix. So what's that extracellular matrix? Why mimicking extracellular matrix is like important? Extracellular matrix is a base for cells. Like many cells in our, like many types of cells in our bodies wants to adhere something. So this is a base for cells, and it also provides cell-to-cell adherence, so the cells can like communicate with gap junctions, will cause molecular signaling, and by this they can control or like direct cell migration, proliferation, and differentiation. And hydrogels mimic this structure. And another thing is like they are injectable, so this will decrease the invasive surgeries. Like it is going to be like minimally invasive surgeries. And the soldier phase transition may occur in body. I mean, it can be like in gel status in room temperature, and when you put it into body, it will get solidified. And the important part for me is like known to promote vascularization. It is already shown that hydrogels promote vascularization. I will come to this later. So there are lots of types of hydrogels, which I don't want to focus on, at least like for today. I think it's really frightening anyways. So I will go on with osteogenic and angiogenic coupling, which is related to this part of like known to promote vascularization. Why it is important for osteonecrosis. Why that is important. So first of all, what we have another player here, endothelial cells. They line the inner side of the blood vessels, and they are an interface between blood and the tissue. So actually, they are the vascular cells, let's say vascular endothelial cells. They make the vascular structures. So we have another player here, like mural cells. Throughout them, I really like the PDGFR beta positive pericytes because to me, they are vessel stabilizers. If your vessel is so loose, I mean, it won't work. Or if it is so like strong and like not loose, it won't work. And these guys stabilizes your vessels. So why like angiogenic or vascularization is important? So in long bone marrow, we have 4 types of special cells, endothelial cells. And throughout these, H-type endothelial cells are shown to have positive roles in trabecular bone repair, osteogenesis, and bone regeneration. So this means that there's an interplay between bone and vascular structures, which we call as like angiogenic osteogenic coupling. So you cannot omit this part while you are aiming to like treat osteonecrosis. So this figure, I really like this figure by Chen and friends, published in 2020, is like, I think, summarizing the best. So these are H-type cells speaking to or like communicating to hypertrophic chondrocytes via releasing nodule, which cause maturation. And these cells, like these H-type vessels or endothelial cells, release PDGFs or FGF1 to increase the osteoprogenitor survival. Or in osteogenesis, VEGF or SLIT1 is released from osteoblasts. Let type H vessels to expand, or like the preosteoclast PDGF beta released from preosteoclast again increase the number of the type H cells. So there's always a connection, and like angiogenesis or vascularization is as much as important like as osteogenesis in bone regeneration or remodeling. I'm sorry. So osteonecrosis of the femoral head, what's that? It's basically, let's start with like osteonecrosis. This means osteo means bone. Necrosis means that. This basically like literally means like bone death. I mean, and there are many other types. Like for example, one of the most popular ones is like osteonecrosis of the jaw. It is another problem, but I want to focus on the femoral head. I mean, I think, in the literature, femoral head or the proximal femur is one of the places that osteonecrosis is seen very commonly. And I think when compared to the size and the like the physical appearance and the morphology, when we check it, not morphology, anatomy also, when we check it, I think it is easy to understand why this proximal femur goes for osteonecrosis rather than this subfemur. And if we briefly look, like, first of all, the cause, we can say the molecular cause, actually, not elucidated yet, but we can say the reasons can be like elevated internal pressure of the proximal femur, vascular endothelial dysfunction means that your vascular structures are not working good. So it may be hypercoagulation, bone fat marrow embolism. Any of these ends with necrotic debris. Necrotic debris means that like there are pro-inflammatory factors, and macrophages and neutrophils are the first ones to go there. They go there, but the macrophage that goes there is the one in M1-like macrophage, and this is pro-inflammatory macrophage. And in case of osteonecrosis, macrophages are locked in this M1 phenotype. And this guy keeps on releasing pro-inflammatory factors. So there was already pro-inflammatory factors released by macrophages. It comes at like positive feedback loop ends up with chronic inflammation, increased bone resorption, decreased bone formation, femoral head collapse, and physical disability. And it is generally seen between like 30s to 50s. I mean, we are so young to have it, I think. So when we check the etiology, there's traumatic and non-traumatic, like can be divided into two. But in clinics, mostly seen ones are steroid-induced, alcohol-induced, and traumatic osteonecrosis. I want to keep on going with the like steroid-induced. So there are steroid-induced and alcohol-induced is studied really well, I think, like compared to traumatic osteonecrosis. And there are the molecular mechanisms are trying to be elucidated. Some of them are elucidated. Normally, glucocorticoids, when you apply them on bone marrow mesenchymal stem cells, you will see that they will differentiate into osteoblasts and chondrocytes. But if you apply like glucocorticoids in like long term in high concentrations, this will disrupt the osteogenic and adipogenic balance. This will take us to this case, the one that I explained just like a minute ago, is steroid-induced osteonecrosis, stimulation of macrophages. Macrophage stimulation causes like more M1 phenotype macrophages, will increase chronic inflammation, impaired vascularization, which will cause decreased osteogenic activity because they are together, working together, end up with steroid-induced. It's a positive feedback loop again. And here, another, I think this is not only related with steroid-induced, but just to explain this part. So Wnt beta-catenin signaling pathway is the like key regulatory pathway in bone regeneration and bone remodeling. So this is the good guy this time. And this DICOP1 is the bad guy because it is the negative regulator. It's an antagonist. So long exposure in high concentrations, application of corticosteroids will induce the upregulation of this DKK1 gene, will end up with like adipogenic differentiation of bone marrow stem cells and like mesenchymal stem cells and osteoblasts, and will inhibit Wnt signaling. So we will end up with impaired osteogenesis and angiogenesis. So for alcohol-induced, actually excess use of alcohol is shown to cause mesenchymal stem cell apoptosis, or in vitro and in vivo. So this means that you have less mesenchymal stem cells, will cause decreased osteogenic differentiation. You don't have enough cells. How can it cannot cause decreased osteogenic differentiation? And if you don't have enough like differentiation, like enough osteoblasts, you may end up with necrotic areas and like subchondral microfractures. Another thing here, I really like this pathway anyways, excess use of alcohol will activate PPAR gamma pathway, which is one of the key regulatory pathways in adipogenesis, will increase the internal pressure of bone marrow cavity because it will cause lipid accumulation in the femoral head, which will block blood circulation. You end up with alcohol-induced osteonecrosis. So this is not published yet, but like we are so into the elucidation of the molecular mechanisms behind traumatic osteonecrosis. So there was no mouse model, so we decided to develop one, and I think we did. But what I want to show you that again the vascularization like causes this. So we dislocated and like cut the remnants and then make an incision. In the end of 10 weeks, we were able to observe the necrotic femoral head, decreased bone marrow density, decreased trabecular number in the necrotic site, increased empty lacuna, and the shape change and the decreased cartilage activity was observed, which means in any of these cases, femoral head necrosis is a vascular disease. This is why we have to focus on vascularization, and this is why hydrogels are good because they promote vascularization. So in clinics, the treatment is done by two ways, maybe divided into two as non-surgical and surgical. And I just want to omit the non-surgical part. I want to go on with the surgical. Total hip arthroplasty is the golden standard. We all know that. It's okay, but it is the last resort. This disease is happening between the ages between 30 and 50s. We are still young to have this. So we go for, like, generally, not we, but the surgeons go for core decompression followed by bone grafting, except in Japan, because Japanese surgeons prefer osteotomy rather than core decompression. Why? Because, like, okay, for core decompression, why hydrogels is important is now I'm going to mention. First, I have to tell this. I'm not a surgeon, but I can tell you, I think this is your femoral head and this is your femoral neck. Like, the surgeons goes from femoral neck to femoral head and take the necrotic tissue out. So there will be a mechanical imbalance, right? When you get tissue out, there's a hole there, there's a like tunnel there. So they need to sometimes fill that tunnel with some materials. So if you're like hydrogel, if the graft material that you use is injectable, and if it solidifies inside, it would be a really good like solution. And if you strengthen it with some hydroxyapatite type of stuff for mechanical durability, and if you add some growth factors on it to promote vascularization and bone regeneration, it is going to be amazing to use hydrogels. And until now, actually, not now. I think this year there was published one more study, but I didn't take it here. So this is the studies done on animals, except these two, like these two, until now. And they are mostly, as you can see, that like, okay, I will check it here. Steroid-induced or alcohol-induced models. There's no like a traumatic model here. So the scientists or the, like surgeons or doctors, or I don't know, engineers, use like growth factors, like different types of cells, like interleukin, vascular endothelial cells. They except this one, all of them are like core decompression like studies. And they are trying to, how can I say, like develop a good hydrogel to use in clinics. But here, because this is in Japan, this is the only two clinical studies, and it was only done in Japan. And like it is not core decompression, because they don't do core decompression here. They do osteotomy, but they just wanted to do some single injection of FGF2 with gelatin hydrogel. And they actually observe after 1 year and 2 year follow-ups and outcomes, they observed 64%, how can I say, like better, like the improvement in the necrotic like femoral heads. So as a result, if I don't want to write anything, but I just want to show this, if you have like necrotic femur, if you need to use composite grafts, and if you choose hydrogels out of these composite grafts, it is good because I'm so sorry. Like, because it mimics extracellular matrix and it has a good vascularization properties. You can change everything with crosslinks, playing with the crosslinks. You can adjust water content. You can add drugs, growth factors, cytokines, ions, I don't know, nucleotides. And then you can transplant it with minimally invasive surgery or just injection. And you can observe the regeneration of blood vessels and necrotic bone. Thank you very much. I finished already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation, sevgili Zeynep.
Thank you.
Have you any question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Zeynep, thank you very much for your great presentation.
Mhm.
Just I would like to ask the question. I have never seen any slide about your hydrogel. So what is the properties of your hydrogel? And also,
No.
yeah, you have any slide about your hydrogel properties?
So first of all, like I'm not studying hydrogels, and this presentation is not about the hydrogels that I produce. So I cannot talk about a single hydrogel. So this was not my study actually, but it is just why hydrogels should be used in osteonecrosis of the femoral head. Why
So
they are like.
what is your advice to your some hydrogel for the some people?
Okay, I can say that, like I said it, but like, so what I want to focus on is like osteogenesis cannot be separated from angiogenesis, right? They are coupling together. So if you're going to use core decompression, for example, please like design your hydrogel with, for example, vascular endothelial VEGF growth factor plus, for example, plus BMP2. And up to me, like the person who designs the hydrogel should not forget about the hydroxyapatites, because hydrogels has the mechanical strength, most of them has the mechanical strength to soft tissues. And the soft tissues are not proper for like bone, right? So you have to, the person has to increase the mechanical strength of the hydrogel. So I would, the advice to the person who designs it not to forget about the like for example hydroxyapatite or hydroxyapatite.
So Zainab, I think so is a very important point that so there are kind of hydrogels like ketosane or alginate, right? There are
Oh, I have
many
that
kind
one.
of things, and then all of them is like contributed to change or bone regeneration to your body or any tissue. So just we wonder what kind of hydrogel you advise us, such as like ketosane or alginate. It doesn't matter what kind of things you can use it. But so what is your advising to? So what kind of hydrogel we can use your
So
biological
I'm not
applications?
okay. I'm not only focusing on the hydrogel, like the bone regeneration, but
Yeah,
what
yes,
can I say
I
is, what
understand.
can I
So
okay,
what do you
what can
think
I say is
about hydrogel?
you can go with like PLGA plus collagen. And like you can like
Mm-hmm.
add I don't know, BMPs and
Mm-hmm.
hydroxyapatites and vascular endothelial growth factors, for example. It is going to be a good hydrogel because PLGA, like PEG or like PLGA, is like how can I say, like has no side effects, and collagen is the bone's its own structure. Hydroxyapatite is also the bone's own structure. Vascular endothelial growth factor will have the growth of the vascularization, and BMP also known to contribute to vascularization plus bone regeneration.
Okay, Zainab, I think time is to restriction, so that's why we, try to, get another author. Thank you very much for your great presentation.
Thank you.
So next, presentation is related with effect of strain of electronic and thermoelectric properties. And I think, Dr. Demet Mustamat will give us a great presentation right now. So Professor, come here.